Good morning. Here we are, Friday of Ladies Conference, and our church is engulfed in so much going on, and hundreds of ladies. I don't know how many people are here, but the building's packed full, and just a great time of fellowship. Good messages from our lady speakers. And if you weren't here last night, I hope you'll come this morning. Just show up and join us. It's amazing to me the number of people who don't come to a meeting like this because they're having problems, and it never registers that maybe if I got some good instruction, maybe if I got some help, prayer, fellowship, encouragement, maybe I could fix my problem. Of course, most of us think our problem is someone else, so why do I need to go? Because my problem is my spouse, my kids, my boss, whoever. But I'll tell you, the thing about problems is if you're a child of God, walking with God, God gives you those things to help you, to purge you, to perfect you, to teach you patience, all kinds of reasons for trials. And so a lot of times we don't need, even though I don't like it, we don't need a cure for our problem. We need internal grace and strength to know how to handle our problem. We've talked about that before. But this morning I wanted to mention a couple things, but first I want to talk about our ladies' conference in this week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was at Brother Terry Angel's church in Bourbonnais, Illinois, and there were, I guess, I don't know how many pastors were there, many pastors at the conference. It was Evangelist Dennis Correll's Revival Fires Conference, and but there were, trying to think, 14 or so pastors who spoke, and maybe 12 pastors that spoke, but it was a great meeting, and I just love being around that group of people, not just the pastors, but the church members, the young people, an excited spirit. It was just a great time together. Looking at that conference, after the conference, it ended around 9:15 or so each night, and then the Brother Terry Angel's church fed those people, and they have a gym, and these gyms, I love the thought. Our boys play basketball on an asphalt basketball court where there's cracks big enough you could fall into them and be like Korah and his family, the earth opening up. But they still win, so it's okay. We get along with what we've got. But boy, the work these people put into that conference, lots and lots of work. And then I'm thinking about our ladies' conference. I flew in Thursday about noon and got back and got things together, and I haven't done much, but I've just kind of been around. But the thing about our ladies' conference has been a lot of work, food and decorations and rides for different speakers from different airports, different times, different airports, and decorating and turning rooms into beautiful places. And well, they just work. During the ladies' conference, our young people start their free car wash. And so any ladies that want to bring their cars to a certain section of the parking lot, and our young people wash their cars for free. That's work. There's the senior class has got a couple of snack stations going on where on breaks people can get drinks and coffee and junk food, all kinds of carbs and sugar. And all over, there's work going on. And I marvel at how people think a society can function with lazy people. You can't work when you feel like it and have a successful marriage. You can't work when you feel like it and have successful children, your child rearing. You can't work when you feel like it and have your finances in order. You can't work when the little whim hits you and have a successful business. I mean, people that start businesses, they work night and day. They'll work 18-hour days, 20-hour days, trying to get that business going. And you can't have any kind of success without work. And yet we've got businesses all over. People can't find folks that'll work. And if they will work, they don't want to work a lot of hours. And then all the pressure from the government on, especially in California, on employee rights. So then we've got businesses saying, look, we'll just limit your hours. And so we've got the few people who would work can't get any more hours because they're stuck in this backward system. It's a mess. The idea of work has been forgotten in America. And I've talked about this before, but in the Garden of Eden, God put Adam and Eve in the garden. The first thing he did is say, take care of that garden. God gave Adam work. That from the very beginning, this world was a place of work. I was thinking about my background, and I'm going to be in 1 Thessalonians, very familiar passage, probably to most of you. But I remember as a boy, I don't ever remember not working. Just my mom and dad and my brother and I, and we had linoleum floors in our bedrooms, and we swept our floors. We made our beds, put our toys and things away. We got a little older, and my mom and dad would work, get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, or whatever time, and the dishes would need to be done. We'd do the dishes from the night before, and we'd vacuum and dust. Now, she never let us do laundry or cooking, but my mom had us working, and weekends we worked in the yard. Dandelions, we had a dandelion fork kind of a thing, like a screwdriver, only had a fork tip, and you'd go down into the dandelion, hit the main root, and pull the dandelion. She didn't want the dandelions cut off. She wanted the roots out. We'd be on our hands and knees with that fork going around the grass. Then we'd mow the grass, and I don't remember ever having a gas-powered lawnmower. We had a pretty big lawn, but an old-fashioned push mower with the rotating blades that you, as you pushed it, the tires powered the blades. And my dad didn't need a gas-powered lawnmower. He had Bruce and George, and came time for gardening, we would use a shovel or a spade and a forked, four-pronged spade, and we'd turn the soil over, and we worked. We just worked. I don't ever remember not working. And again, we weren't in a Christian home, but we had decency and ethics, and I remember Saturday mornings. A lot of, I don't know how often, or what you remember from a child is different, but I remember going to the Saturday morning matinee. They had these cliffhangers on Saturday at the Saturday matinee, and boy, this would get right near the guy's going to die or he falls over the cliff, and then it'd stop. Then they'd have the feature movie, and I'd come back next week to see what happened, and we'd go there. I don't know, it was a dime or a quarter to get in or whatever, but we wouldn't get the dime or quarter or whatever we needed to get in until we did our work, and we had to work for that money, and we got work done around the house, and maybe we'd get a dime extra or whatever to buy some candy or something, but we worked. When my dad left, and a few years later, my mom remarried, and I remember being, I'm guessing, 8th grade, and my stepdad got work from where he worked and brought things home, and he had me doing work on a little grinder and working on parts for him, and thousands of these little tiny parts. I would do different things to them, and to get a penny a part or 2 cents a part or whatever, and I'd just sit out there at night with my goggles on and thousands of these things and working on these, and I'm pretty sure I was an 8th grader, but it was just work. I remember us as boys, we raised rabbits, and of course rabbits breed and multiply pretty fast. And my brother and I, we'd butcher the rabbits, and we'd save bread bags. Once the bread's gone, you shake the bread out, or the crumbs out, and we'd save them. And then when we butchered rabbits, we'd skin them and gut them and wash them good. And then we'd drop the rabbit into the sack, and we'd go door to door. I don't think those rabbits ever saw a refrigerator. And we'd go door to door, knock on doors. We want to buy a rabbit, And we sold our rabbits. And just different things. My brother did some things through Boy Scouts that I might have helped a little bit with. Seeds and Christmas cards. And I remember us going up, there was a little stream, not a stream, but there was a drainage that had water when it rained, and there'd be cattails. And at that time, my cousins lived nearby. And my cousins, the 3 boys, my brother and I, and then 3 cousins within the same we were 3 years apart, and 3 cousins in those same years. So there's 5 boys within 3 years in age. But we'd go out and we'd cut down cattails, and we had an old red wagon. We'd pile that red wagon up, and we'd go door to door selling cattails for a dime. A cattail, ladies would put them in their flower arrangements and things, and if we'd have found out later, if you spray them with hairspray, they don't go to seed. But the ones we did, one day those ladies are going to wake up, and those cattails are going to go to seed, and those little white fluffies are going to be all over their house, and they'd be mad at us. But But we work. The idea of raising a generation of kids who lay around home and play video games, ride skateboards, ride bicycles, and don't work, that is going to destroy our nation. It won't work. The Christian life is work. Sunday school teachers, it's work. Bus routes, it's work. Jails and rest home ministries, it's work. The work, God calls it the work of the ministry. We've got to get people back to work. And it's crazy what we do. The laziness that goes on. 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. That's not right. It's 2 Thessalonians. There we go. For even when I was with you, my notes say 1 Thessalonians, but I didn't write. For 2 Thessalonians 3:10, for even when we were with you, this we command you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. Now we most of us know that verse, but what about the next one? For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. You know, busybodies. If you don't work, you're disorderly. Somebody who doesn't work is disorderly. And it might be you're a medical student and you're in medical school and got some kind of scholarship, whatever. And I hope if you don't carry a job at McDonald's, I'm okay, as long as you study and work hard and you know how to take care of me. I'm thinking but you're working at your college. I guess that's all right. I don't know. I was never in that. I worked pretty much through all the college that I had, but 3 different colleges, and I think I always had some kind of a job. But work. And he said, I want you to work. And I've heard that some of you are disorderly, working not at all. And in verse 12 of 2 Thessalonians 3, now them that are such, those who aren't working, we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. But ye, brethren, be not weary in well-doing. So work. If you don't work, you're disorderly. And he said, don't be weary in well-doing. Keep your job. Work, 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 work. And then in verse 14, if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man have no company with him. If a guy's not willing to work, don't hang around him. Don't have a friend who's lazy. Now, that is talk about unheard of, but that's God's opinion. That is the opinion of the eternal God, who says you shouldn't be hanging around and being buddies and friends with somebody who doesn't work. How could a lady possibly be a wife and mother and not know how to work hard? How could she ever do it? All the responsibilities and of course in our culture, a lot of times ladies are having to punch a clock and work as well as home. And I don't remember my mom sitting around doing nothing hardly ever. There was laundry to fold or shirts to iron and shopping and cooking and cleaning and there was so much, and she worked most of our life. She worked a full-time job, but work, and we're making a mess of our country, and we're making a mess. And again, we don't need to be critical of people who don't work. We don't need to be ugly to people that don't work. We just ought not. He says, just don't be close to them. And he said he gives you a reason. In let me get over there again. 2 Thessalonians 3. I'm in Timothy already. He says, yet count him not as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. He says at the end of verse 14, have no company with him that he may be ashamed. Count him not as an enemy, admonish him as a brother. He ought to be embarrassed. How come you can't come over to my barbecue? Because you don't work for a living. If the Christian friends won't hang around you because you don't work, you're going to be ashamed. That's what God said. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. I don't care if the society around us doesn't like it. And he says in verse 15, don't count him as an enemy, just admonish him. You get it? You need to work and pay them. Don't you mooch off society. And we've got a whole culture here. People that are living off society and mooching off the government. Well, the government's you and me that work and pay taxes. And he says, I don't want you doing that. And you guys need to get a job and you need to work. Now, if we got back to parents teaching their kids to work individually, corporately, if we would teach our children to work and get our teenagers working, and if we got our young people out of high school, get them jobs and get them working, if we get our kids working, they'd realize the value of the dollar. They'd realize about waste, and they'd realize so many lessons. They'd realize that every good thing is precious and it's difficult to get it. And you work to have a garden, And we always had a garden, and much of our life had animals. Animals are work, and I'm not meaning a cat and a dog. We had those, but we had rabbits, and we had chickens and pigs and goats, and we milked goats for a little while, and we had a milk cow for a while, and we did. We had animals are good, make people work. And you get into see. I think one of the reasons the devil likes all this apartment living and jamming people in tight and forcing people into cities is there's so much corruption and there's not enough work, and it's not just the things you are getting around as far as wrong companions and all that. It's the idleness. There's not a work. There's not enough. How do you keep kids working when you're jammed into a little apartment? Don't have a lawn to mow and don't have any work to do. And man, folks, work is so very, very important. And I just want to encourage you. Let's get our kids, raise our kids working, and let's work. And it is work. The Christian ministry around this whole conference is going on because of work. Our churches are in trouble because we have a bunch of people in this society who want to go to church, they want to sit and be entertained. Let me hear good music. Let me hear good vocalists. Let me hear a nice warm message. Let me sit here, put a little money in the plate, and do nothing. That's not Bible Christianity. Over and over, be steadfast, all unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as you know as your labor is not in vain in the Lord. God talks about his ministry, his labor. Teaching Sunday school, as I said earlier, Sunday school's work, buses are work, church work of any kind, of conference like's going on in our church. This is work. My wife has been working countless hours to put this all together, and job lists and long lists of jobs to give these jobs out, and she'll give this job away, but then she's got to follow up on those things. We've got to learn to work, and we got to learn to love work. And to love seeing something happen and seeing our hands created it, our mind created it. And let's make love a very admirable thing. Don't ever look down on workers. Your kids ought to grow up knowing that mom and dad admire a person who works hard. Kids ought to work hard at their homework. They ought to work hard at their school sports. They ought to work hard at science and history fair projects, whatever. Kids ought to work hard at the candy sale and car wash. And let's just create a spirit of work and labor, because that is honoring to God. And until we're old enough we can't work and crippled up. By the way, I'm not for this sitting around home retiring and doing nothing. What an empty life. There's windows to be washed at your church, and floors to be vacuumed, and weeds to be pulled, and how much you could be doing at your church. And I'm not talking about folks, but my mom was watching one of the display tables here, and she was working with some things. She's 87 years old and uses a walker, and she does our choir music and fills the choir books with the right music and picks out new choir music and organizes. There's nothing lazy in that lady, nothing lazy in our home. Any lazy kids would have died. But as we get older, if the only reason to retire is because you can't keep up the pace, and so then you can maybe work slower or not have the pressure on you, but you can do it for God. And I would love to have 10 or 15 retired people and have them say, I'll come in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 in the morning to noon and do this. And these others would come in Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 6 in the evening and do that. And how many jobs could get done in a church by volunteer labor once a week, twice a week, every day of the week? Oh, let's work for them. Jesus said, I must work the work of him that sent me, for the night cometh when no man can work. There's so much in the Bible on work. Let's work and labor for the Lord. Have a great day. Pray for our weekend. Ladies' conference today, tomorrow. Great day Sunday at church, and I hope you're there.